California Democrat Khanna, who represents much of Silicon Valley. Congressman, it's good to see you. I want to start with something that the president said about Manchin and the House progressives yesterday. Let me play the soundbite.
Joe went on TV today, and I don't know whether it's TV or not. I'm told he was speaking to the liberal caucus in the House and said, Joe Biden didn't mislead you, I misled you.
Were you a part of that meeting where Manchin talked to you, and what can you tell us about it, if you were?
There was no such meeting, and Chuck, I don't think it's productive to speculate on people's motives or assign blame. What the American people want is for us to make progress. And what we ought to do, as Representative Jayapal said, is sit down with the president, with Senator Manchin, and see what can we agree on. We can agree on universal preschool, as I understand it, on child care. We can agree on expanding health care coverage. And then let's get to something that can pass. And I think that's what Democrats need to do going forward.
Well, let me ask you about what I also noted in the lead-in, which is this issue of the child care tax credit. Do you think it's going to end up off the table, end up a separate issue? What is the future of this? Because it sounds like Congresswoman Jayapal came away with her talks with Senator Manchin believing that's going to be the highest hurdle to clear.
I certainly hope not, Chuck. Let me just put it in very simple terms. Here's what it means. It means $300 a month for families that are working class, middle class, who have kids. That means, can you buy your kids Christmas presents? That means, can you get them winter clothes for the holidays? Now, Senator Manchin has a problem because there are a few couples who make up to $400,000 who may get some portion of the credit. That we're willing to negotiate, and we can look at what the appropriate thresholds are. But the idea that someone making 50 grand, 40 grand who has kids shouldn't get some help, I just think that's something we all should agree on, especially in the Christmas season. I mean, I just saw Christmas Carol at Ford Theater. We need a little more Christmas spirit here, and the child tax credit is one of the biggest things we could do.
So then the definition of it means testing to you is if you want to lower the threshold from, say, 400 to what? 250, 300, that is something that you think is negotiable, that maybe that answers Senator Manchin's concerns?
Chuck, as I understand it right now, the child tax credit, to get the full credit, it ends at $150,000. But there are a few cases making over $200,000 as a couple where you still get some benefits. I'm willing to negotiate that. I have a high cost of living area in Silicon Valley. You know, the money doesn't go as far in a place like Silicon Valley as West Virginia, but I'm willing to negotiate that. And that's where we are open to compromise. We always have been. But let's not just get rid of the child tax credit, which every economist said has cut child poverty, and is actually one of the things I'm proudest of having done and voted for in Congress. And
I think what's frustrating to watch this debate is there seems to be bipartisan agreement on the idea, just not bipartisan agreement of how to do it. And I've been curious, do you think more of an attempt should have been made to see if there could have been a growing, just taking the child care tax credit? You got a Mitt Romney and a Marco Rubio who are supportive of the idea. Do you think more effort should have been made to try to peel that off of the reconciliation, or no?
I just don't think we could get to 10 votes. You know, if we could get, 10 more Republican votes, if Senator Manchin or Senator Rubio could come up with a package that has 60 Senate votes, I'd be willing to look at it and consider it. But they always say, let's have bipartisanship, and then they have one or two Republican senators that gets us to 53, 54, and that's not really real. So the only way we're actually going to get it done right now is through reconciliation. But of course, if you could get 60 senators on something that's a compromise, I'm willing to look at it. Nobody likes to sit here and pick and choose what's left. A lot of people argue what's left in Build Back Better are essential.
There's no more picking and choosing. But I want you to read you something that Robinson Meyer wrote in The Atlantic today. And he said this: something has to pass. Some version of a climate bill, any version of it. If you believe what Democrats say about climate change, then virtually any social policy, including the child tax credit, is worth sacrificing so that decarbonization can become law. Is there any part of you that says, yeah, we gotta, if you got Manchin on something here, take it and run?
Well, absolutely. I think the climate is the highest priority. I do think the president has executive authority under executive orders to be able to increase Treasury's federal financing loans and significantly fund climate policy. But if we can get significant climate provisions, in my view, that's the highest priority. And that's where I think Senator Manchin shouldn't dilute it, because it's not going to affect, in my view, West Virginia negatively. Most of the bill is an investment in alternative energy, renewable energy, innovation, competing with China. And Senator Manchin has always said he's for that. So I agree that's the highest priority.
Any regrets about untethering the infrastructure bill from Build Back Better?
No, it's a good bill that passed. It's a bill that's going to protect the rural, that's going to help get lead pipes out of people's homes and infrastructure. I'm proud to have supported it. I think the idea of leverage was always overdone. People in the House aren't going to have leverage over a sitting senator. I think what we achieved is we got the president to a compromise framework, and I still think that ought to inform the debate of what the Build Back Better bill that passes should be like.
Your optimistic Christmas spirit, perhaps it'll get contagious. Congressman Khanna, appreciate you coming on, sharing your perspective with us.
Thank you.
And hope you have a good
Happy holidays.